for them and for their customers. I'm also a wife of one husband, a mother of two children. I enjoy traveling, watching Korean dramas, listening to music, and mentoring. So essentially, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Okay, so Mabs, you can put up that slide. Got it? Is it up? Can't see it. Okay, sharing. Okay. Brilliant. Sorry, just bear with me a sec. Good, great. So the slide that Mabinti's put up is essentially just, I'm just going to sort of take you through what I'm going to be talking about today, and then obviously I'll move into this conversation. So obviously it's the start of a brand new year, like Mabinti mentioned. You know, everybody's kind of rushing around, sort of wanting to make goals, make plans, and obviously get the year off to a good start, and hopefully at the end of it have something to show for it. So I'm just going to sort of talk about kind of how I start when I'm setting goals. I'll touch on sort of things like short-term goals, long-term, medium, and obviously keeping it simple. That's a very particular thing I'm very particular about, sorry, is keeping it simple. I'll talk to you about SMART goals, what that actually means. I'm sure most, if not all of you have heard of that anyway. So yeah, and then I'll give some examples of SMART goals, and I'll also talk about how to stay focused. Obviously, when you set the goals, that's the one thing, but actually staying focused on those goals is a completely different story. And then I'll move on to sort of a regular review of your goals and sort of just conclude about creating goals in what is a very, very interesting season that we're all in right now. Great. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is like the mind map. So when you're setting goals, sometimes it's difficult for people to even understand how they go about setting goals. I mean, you've got a lot of things going on in your mind, a lot of things you want to achieve, and it can be quite daunting sort of knowing where to start. So what I tend to do is I tend to draw a mind map. So if I just share my screen of what I've done, it's not specifically my goals for the year, but I've just put some things on the paper just to kind of give you an idea as to how you can start when you want to flesh out your goals. So just bear with me. Let me share. Okay. Give me a thumbs up or let me know if you can see the screen. Brilliant. Okay, so the reason I did this, so if you're someone who's not really clear on, okay, where do I start when I'm setting my goals, you can just mind map it. I love mind maps because it just kind of visually gives you a quick idea of what you want to do. So here, what I tend to do is I kind of categorize my goals. So it might have education, it might be health, personal development, family, whatever it may be, just have different categories for the type of goals you're going to be looking at. So this kind of helps you to kind of at least start getting your, thoughts on paper and start thinking about what you want to do. And then within those categories, so if we take health as an example, one of your goals might be around getting fit or losing weight. If it's financial, which is going to be a big one for all of us, I would imagine, is, you might want to start investing. You might want to clear your debt, increase your savings. These are kind of things that Remy will talk about anyway. Or it might be career related. So get a promotion, increase your profile at work, whatever it may be. This is kind of like your blueprint or your starting point for when you want to, if you're not sure how to start in terms of defining your goals. Okay, so once you've done a mind map and you've kind of got the categories for your goals and what you want to do, etc., how do I go about actually setting those goals? So there is an acronym, and like I said, sorry, I mentioned earlier from the slide, you might have short-term goals, you might have medium, long-term. Short-term goals might be things you want to achieve this year. Medium might be within the next 12 to 18 months. Long-term might be 5 years, might be longer. It really just depends on you and how you want to position it. So when you're setting goals, it is important to set SMART goals. So on the slide I just showed you, those goals that kind of spread out from the categories are very high level. They're not SMART goals. And by SMART, so SMART is an acronym. So if I talk you through what that acronym means. So S stands for specific. So when you're setting SMART goals, you need to be specific. So I talked about an example on the slide about losing weight. That's great, but that's not specific. What does that mean? So you could say, I want to lose 10 kilos. Okay, great. That's tangible. That's quantifiable. You know exactly what you want to do. So already you have focus. Then the next thing is measurable. So by measurable, it means, how do I track this goal? So how do I know if I'm making progress or if I've completely missed it? How do I know when I've actually hit my goal? So your goal needs to be measurable. So when you say, I want to lose 10 kilos, that's a specific goal and it's measurable. I can measure that I can get on the scale and see, oh, actually I've dropped 5 kilos today. So I'm on, or this week or this month, if only it could be in a day. But anyway, I've dropped 5 kilos. So I've got another 5 to go. So you can measure that. That's something that you can actually measure. Then the next thing is achievable or attainable, some people say. Is the goal realistic? So it's great to set goals, but there's no point setting goals that there is no chance of you accomplishing, even with God's help. Like, we have to use common sense. So when you're setting goals, you also have to look at kind of where you are today, what's going on in your life. You have to, consider everything and make sure that your goal you're setting for yourself, it has to stretch you, obviously, otherwise it wouldn't be a goal, but it needs to be something that can stretch you, but with enough room for you to be able to accomplish it. So make sure that the goal is achievable. Then the R is relevant. Again, when we're setting goals, you need to set goals that are relevant to you. So it's not about, choosing goals that other people are setting or thinking about, oh, this goal might be nice to have. What's important to you right now? Kind of what's going on in your life? Is there a particular business endeavor maybe that you're working on? And actually there's some goals you could set that will help feed towards that. So the goals have to be relevant to you, important enough to you, because that's the thing that's going to keep you motivated and actually committed to the goal. So that relevance is critical. It's really, really important so that you stay on track. And then finally, it needs to be timely or time bound. And that essentially means it has to have a deadline. So using the example of the weight loss example, so a SMART goal is, I want to lose 10 kilograms by the end of June. It's specific, it's measurable, you can measure that, it's 10 kilos, it's achievable, 6 months is a good window of time, it's relevant to you if you want to perhaps get healthy, or if you're overweight and you want to lose weight, excuse me, then it's relevant. And then time-based, you've got a deadline, end of June. So when you set goals, you can't just say, oh, yeah, I want to lose weight or I want to get healthy. Those aren't SMART goals because there's no way to measure whether you've hit that goal or not. So that's what it means when we're talking about, SMART goals, that acronym. So you keep that in the forefront of your mind. If I sort of give another example, which is one that's probably very close to the hearts of a lot of us probably on the call, and that's around debt. So you might have a financial goal, which is, I think Babinti mentioned it about, financial freedom. That's great at a high level, but what is the specific goal there? So an example might be, you might have a credit card balance, maybe a Barclaycard balance for £5,000. If you pay that off, so you're not obviously paying money and interest in it every month, that creates more fluid income. It creates disposable income. That disposable income creates more money that you can put away for savings or that you can invest. All those things can lead you towards your overarching goal of financial freedom. So the actual goal, so that's a specific, sorry? Okay, so that's a specific goal. Another example might be, for example, you want to get a professional qualification. So rather than just say, and maybe the qualification you're looking at is the project management. I'll use project management because that's my field. So rather than say, and actually perhaps why you want to do that is because you want to change roles. So you maybe want to move into a different type of role in a different sector. And in order to get in there or get a foot in the door, you need a project management qualification. So rather than just saying, I writing down, I want to get a project management qualification, you would say, I want to be Prince 2 certified by the end of August. So that's there again, it's specific. It's Prince, the specific qualification is Prince 2. The timeline, end of August. Is it measurable? Yes. At the end of August, I can look and see, did I get this or not? And it's very straightforward to say whether it's yes or no. So those are just some of the examples when you're talking about actually setting specific goals. I'm not going to go through, loads, just to give you an idea in terms of SMART goal setting. Now, setting the SMART goals obviously is one thing, but there needs to be an action plan in terms of, okay, I've set the goal, now how do I achieve it? So if I look at the example I gave around paying off your Barclaycard balance of say £5,000 by the end of the year, what you then look at is, okay, this is my target. How much do I need to pay off maybe each month in order to hit that 5,000 target? Then look at your budget. Is there room in my budget? Well, first of all, do you have a budget? If you don't, that's probably another goal you need to set. And Remy will talk about budgets later. But then, yeah, review your budget and then say, do I have enough within my current budget that would allow me to pay whatever it is, about approximately £400 a month, pay that into the card? Then if you don't, then you might need to look at, okay, where do I need to reduce spending elsewhere so that I can sort of raise that income? Or it might be I need to look at another source of income. So it's great to have SMART goals. That's the, you know, the first thing, but then you have to then look at the steps needed to achieve that goal. And then once you've identified, okay, my target is 5,000 end of the year, I know I can fit it in my budget, or I've found a way to kind of raise that additional money, then how am I going to do it? Now you might decide, well, you know, you're going to just overpay each month. But personally, what I've done in the past to ensure focus and discipline is I set up a standing order. So every month that money automatically goes out of my account before I get a chance to put my hands on it. Because there's always something, there's always a need, there's always something calling for money's attention. And so by doing it that way, I'm actually, it just doesn't hit me, it just goes straight in. And these are some of the things you have to think about when you're setting goals and the action plans that underpin that. You have to think of ways to make sure that you can enforce that discipline. Another example, so I talked about the Prince 2 qualification. So that's your goal. You want to be Prince 2 certified by the end of August. Great. Okay. Now, how do you go about that? So obviously you'll look at training courses, could be online, virtual, face-to-face. I mean, obviously now with the pandemic, everything's pretty much virtual, I would say, or online. So a lot of companies as well, you know, giving various offers, and, you know, so you can negotiate with the company to get great deals on the training. But, you know, do your research, find out what courses you can do, the qualifications you get. And obviously, again, money will play a big part in that. And if one of your goals, one of your goals is around finances, etc., then obviously have an amount of money in mind that you'd be willing to pay for this course, because, you know, obviously inevitably this goal kind of ties into something else around your finances. So know how much money you're willing to spend. And then once you've got that nailed down, book the training course and the exam. And the reason I say that, again, something else I always do is when I'm taking professional qualifications, I always book the training and I always book the exam date. So that exam date puts me, like, it holds me accountable, because you can very easily book the training course and then say, okay, I'll do the training course. Once I've studied a bit more and I'm ready, I'll book the exam. But life is life. And inevitably you might do the course, and then you might not study as much as you want to, or as finish as quickly as you want to, and find that the time is passing and you've still not taken the exam. Whereas when that exam date is set, if I say, well, I'm aiming to be certified by the end of August, I'm setting that exam for June, July, and maybe it's January now, that's it, I'm on the hook. So I know I have to have that exam done by the end of June, and that is what I'm working towards. So again, that drives focus as well. It helps you stay on course to that goal. And then the other thing I'd say around action planning as well is, especially with reference to this goal, is set time aside to study. So you've got to be realistic. Like, you can have SMART goals, you can even have lots of action plans about how you're going to accomplish these goals, but you need to make sure that as well you're creating that environment that will allow you to do that. So it might be you say, okay, you know what, if I'm going to achieve this goal, after 8 o'clock in the evening, there's no social media. I switch off my phone, I don't go on social media, and I just spend an hour each evening studying. And that, you know, can be part of your action plan towards that goal. So that's, I hope you kind of sort of understood that, you know, in terms of how you set the SMART goals, you know, and obviously the action plans that underpin it, and the key elements in terms of making sure that the goal is a SMART one as opposed to just very high level. So, okay, I've set my SMART goals now, I've got my action plan. How do I stay focused? I've got children coming in left, right, and center. I've got a husband, I've got work, I've got so many other commitments. How do I stay focused on my goals? Write them down. It can be on a notice board, pinned up to the notice board. It could be on your phone, your iPad. We've got so much available to us these days in order to be able to actually track things regularly. You can set reminders, whatever you need to do, whatever works for you, write the goal down so that you can continually look at it, and actually keeps you focused, and it keeps it sort of forefront of your mind, so to speak. And then be practical. I'm very much into being practical. So yeah, writing your goals down is one thing. Writing an action plan is another thing, but create that environment that allows you to do the two, because you could have all these lovely goals and action plans all on lovely bits of paper, all pressed up against your notice board, but you don't even look at it, or nothing happens with it. So as an example there, I'm saying being practical. So I mentioned one of the things I like doing is watching Korean dramas, and I was doing a lot of that last year. And one of the things I said to myself, I did that last year, and one of the things I said to myself this year as well is that, excuse me, I'm going to keep watching of those shows to weekends only. So during the weekday, my evenings are filled with doing things that are contributing towards the goals I've set myself. So there's no watching of anything in the evening, anything that's going to distract me, and then I'll find, okay, 3 hours have gone past, I've not done anything, and that's another day gone past. So do practical things. Another thing might be clear your desk or office space for clear thinking. Just before I started work this year, that we've got this bookshelf in the office, and there was papers everywhere and books left, right, and center. And I just had to do a clear out, because that then gives you like a clear space for thinking. And there's nothing worse than coming into an area that is really cluttered. So again, clear your office desk, just provide somewhere that gives you that space for clear thinking. Another thing I would say is know thyself. If you know you're someone that can't motivate yourself, and I think to some degree we all need to kind of find that, but if you know that in terms of your goals, you've struggled in the past to kind of staying on track with those goals, share the goal with a friend, a trusted friend. Just, talk to the friend, say, look, these are the goals I've set myself for this year. I really need you to be with me, pray with me as well, and encourage me and kind of keep me focused, keep me honest to myself, and like pull me up if I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. So someone that will hold you account. And it doesn't have to be one friend, it could be a group of friends, who also have goals for the year, and a group of you can kind of get together and have regular check-ins and say, okay, well, Mabs, how are you doing? You said you were going to book the course last week, did you do it? Yes, I did. Great. What's next? Did you do it? No. Okay, how come? What happened? Okay, maybe you can do this. So things like that, we encourage each other. There's a scripture in the Bible that says iron sharpens iron. This is what you can use. You can use that to kind of help yourself stay focused on your goal. And then the final thing I'll say on staying focused, and one of the things that is kind of important to me, at the core, at anything I'm thinking about, I'm always asking myself this, is why. To stay focused, you need to stay motivated. And to enable you to do that, ask yourself why. What's the why behind the goal? Why did you set this goal? Why do I want to lose weight? Why do I want to be healthier, live longer, obviously? Why do I want to, do this? Why do I want to do that? That why, it has to be it's powerful. There's so much power in the why, because when you know why you're doing something, it's the fuel that you need to keep going. When at times, honestly, there are going to be times when you're going to be like, you're not going to feel like it, or you've committed to doing something and something else has come up, or you just can't be bothered. But that why is so powerful. Like, when, there are times when, I don't know, I'll give a practical example, there'll be times when, maybe someone is annoying me or something like that. It's not necessarily, well, it could wrap it up in a goal. And I'll be like, I'll be annoyed. And then, I'll be talking to God, and I'll be like, well, but why do I have to do this? And I'm reminded that, I'm made in his image. I'm reminded that I'm meant to reflect Christ in all I do. And that why is the thing that helps me when at times, if my husband's annoying me, where maybe sometimes I have to keep quiet and think, okay, just let it go talk to God about it. Or if something's happened at work and somebody has sent me a really snotty email, and my instinct is to type back ferociously with, all of that. And then the Holy Spirit will say, just relax, calm down. I'm like, why? And I'm reminded of who I am. So the goal, why have you chosen these goals? What is it you're trying to achieve with these goals? What is the aim behind it? And that why will help you stay focused. Right, okay. So once you've done that, you've talked about staying focused, then regular review of your progress. So have regular checkpoints, like how am I doing? So I set this goal, I'm due to achieve it by the end of June. It's now 2 weeks into January. How am I doing? Have I done the tasks I said I would complete by now? If not, why not? What's happened? Am I on track? Do I need to shift things a little bit? So it's very important to have regular checkpoints with yourself or with your group, if it's a group of people or a friend, just to see how you're doing. And like I said, look at whether you need to change anything, whether you're still on track, etc. Or if it's still realistic. Listen, we're living in the middle of a pandemic. Things are changing constantly. People's homes, people are going through a lot of things that they never experienced before or even expected. Mental health is an issue, homeschooling, all these kind of things. So as you progress, you may have to adapt that goal, and there's no crime there. That's life. You have to be able to adapt and change and be flexible. So that's the other thing you need to keep in mind. And then one thing that's really important to me is celebrating when you hit key milestones. It's so, so, so important, because there is something about, looking at a goal you're working towards, and then you see a task linked to it and you say, oh my God, I've done that. So I'm on my way. I'm like 20% through my goal. I'm, excuse me, I'm on track. It's going well. It gives a real sense of achievement, so yes, I want to pay off £5,000 by the end of the year. But by the end of January or February, I realized, oh, I've paid off 1,000. That's fantastic. So I only got 4,000 left to go. So it's important to celebrate your milestones. Something me, when I celebrate my milestones, is usually obviously with a smile, but I tick it off. There's something powerful about seeing a tick. So not just the long list of tasks sitting under, the goal. There's a tick. I've done that. What's next? Okay. And then conversely, if you fall behind, it's okay. Like, just pick yourself up and keep going. There's nothing wrong with, starting something and maybe falling behind a bit because other things have gone on in life. And then you have to now kind of come back. You just pick yourself up and keep going. And then the last thing I will say really is about creating smart goals in this season. Like I said, we are in the middle of a pandemic. And for some people, goals is like sort of at the furthest thing from their mind. And your actual goal may only be in this year is to stay mentally well. You might have had such a terrible year that, the fact that you're just alive now today in itself is a miracle. And that's okay, because actually you need to be okay mentally and emotionally to be even setting goals and even looking at working towards those goals. So if that's the only thing you set this year, that's fine. It's not a problem. But the good thing about having a goal is, there's this thing about what you focus on grows. That there's a scripture in Philippians, I think it's Philippians 4, where it talks about whatever is good, whatever is noble, think on these things. So when you set a goal, if you're thinking of that, you're less likely to be distracted by the things that are happening around, because your mind is set, you're focused. I've got a goal that I need to hit, and you've got different activities that are feeding into that goal. So having goals set in this season can be good to kind of just keep you, focused and not distracted or anxious about the things that are happening around you. And then the next thing I would say is, please, please, please be kind to yourself. Listen, some days will be better than others. We've got people who are juggling motherhood, full-time jobs, homeschooling. You might be even studying as well, family commitments. There's a lot going on, and we are individuals. So be kind to yourself. That is so, so, so important when setting smart goals this season. Just be kind to yourself and, keep it simple. You don't have to have a whole raft of goals. When I started off, I shared a slide of a mind map of, different areas or different categories where you could then have goals. You may choose one category and you may have 3 goals for the year. That is fine. It's better to come out of the year with 3 goals you've achieved than 10 years and you didn't do a single thing. It's not about that. And then I'd also say be creative. Some you might be out of work, so perhaps getting a promotion in your career, which was probably a goal you would have liked, but because you're out of work, it's not something you can do right now. That's fine. There are other things you can do. You might look at, just getting healthy and fit. So maybe going for a walk each day. You might, if you're someone that likes writing or doing other things, you might think, oh, I might take up writing. There are other things you can think about that are, not necessarily your standard goals that people set. And be flexible, be flexible. Honestly, it's so important to be flexible. There is so much change going on. It's I don't want to use the well, I'm going to use it, even though the word has been used so many times. Unprecedented. Yes, we had that. So, everything is so fluid. So be flexible, because we can set goals, but as, situations change, we might need to be flexible to change those things. And then I think if you've listened to anything I said, this next thing I'm going to say is most important. Maintain perspective. Honestly, working towards goals is fantastic. Wanting to be more, do more, great, lovely. God bless you. But maintain perspective. Don't lose sight of what you already have. Don't lose sight of what you've achieved, and maintain a heart of gratitude. It's so, so, so important. And I think also feeds into, setting goals as well. Being grateful for what you have done. Last year, you may not have achieved all the things you wanted to do, but you would have achieved something. If alone the fact that you're still here today, that's something to be grateful for. So please maintain perspective. And the final thing I'll say that just kind of underpins everything I've said thus far: acknowledge God in the process. Commit your plans to Him, commit your goals to Him, pray about them, ask for wisdom and direction, even as you're setting those goals. Let Him lead you, and be open and sensitive to what He's saying. There may be some things He tells you to do that are linked to those goals, which you'd be thinking, well, this is no way, I can't do that. And be open, be sensitive, because there's so much that God can do. We obviously, the Bible, there's a scripture that says, is it man planned or God proposed? I can't remember which way it goes. We can have lots of plans, but God may have a different plan, and we need to be open to receive that. And ultimately, all the goals we set, everything we do, everything should drive to that one thing, to reflect Christ in every single thing we do. So whether it's in the workplace, if your goal is about promotion and you've got activities there, when you get that promotion, and even what you're doing right now, your goal should be to reflect, ultimately, the goal is to reflect like Christ. If it's spending more time in the word, and your goal should be to grow more in the revelation of Christ, so you can again reflect more of Christ. Everything ultimately is about Jesus. It all is. So every single thing we're doing, if it's to be debt free, of course, the debt free is good, because when you're debt free, you can give more. You can give to the work of the kingdom. You can give to people in need. Again, Christ at the center. So everything, all the goals we set, everything we do, ultimately, that's where it leads to. Okay, I've overrun slightly, so I'm very sorry, but thank you for your time, and I'm going to hand back to Mabinti.
Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you so much. I think I got so many nuggets within that, especially around being specific and also realistic. Because anyway, I won't go into my personal goals because I haven't achieved, but now that you've given me all those tools, I'll go back and rewrite my plans, especially around weight loss. But but I just had one question for you. And my question is, what advice would you give to someone who, for example, last year we all had amazing plans. You know, last year we went into 2020 vision. You know, on Instagram, we have that lovely lady who steps into the next year, you know, the illustration, and she's stepping into all these amazing things, new job, husband, whatever. And we all internalize plans, the plans that we make for ourselves. And when we don't achieve them, or they don't go according to our way, some of us, anyway, I can speak for myself, we get into this space of feeling depressed or feeling low and feeling like, you know, you're not worthy, or you're not great, there's something wrong with you, for example. So what advice would you give to those individuals who 2020 was difficult and maybe they weren't able to achieve their goals, and they're coming into 2021 still with that feeling that, oh gosh, I can't be bothered because 2021 is going to be difficult as well? What advice would you give to them?
So see, from what I would say is, his mercies are new every morning. I love the new year because for me, it's always a fresh start. So, you know, the old has passed away, you know, the new is a new beginning. Last year was a difficult year. Let's not, underestimate that. You know, people lost jobs, people lost homes, people lost loved ones. You know, it was a really difficult year. And that's what I was saying. If you're still here standing, speaking, laughing, you made it. Forget whatever goals you didn't do. You made it, So the advice I would give is there's always, God gives us a new day for a new reason. It's the present. Yes, we didn't achieve some of the things we had last year. Fine. It's a new year. Let's set some goals this year. Work with God as well. See, the way I operate right now is I take each day one day at a time. So I'm doing what I need to do for that day. I've got the goals, etc. But I'm taking each day at a time and letting God lead me whichever way that is. And it may be today he tells me to do something that's slightly different from the goal I had. But what I'm saying is one of the things I said on the slide is you've got to be kind to yourself. Listen, you're the person that's going to do those goals. So if you are in a state where you don't like yourself, you hate yourself, you're kind of bashing yourself up about, what happened last year, you're not even going to be able to, focus on those goals. So just take one day at a time. All this thing I've talked about, goal setting, is great, but we've all seen, like last year, you could have planned the world and then COVID hit, and those plans, you just saw them crumble into a pile, right? So have your plans, but plans can change. Take it one day at a time. Keep working towards those goals. It's fine. And then I said something about, gratitude. Yes, it's great to have goals, but sometimes we get so caught up in chasing that goal, that vision, that business, and we forget about the things that we have that are right around us. Show gratitude for what you have. Maintain perspective. Yes, so it didn't work last year. Listen, God is with you. My thing is, God loves me. I am so convinced of that fact. So there's nothing that I'm going to miss or not do that is going to, change my mind about that. That is what I keep my mind on ultimately. And I always, and I said it to you, you mentioned it at the start, as Christ is, so am I. And that is how I'm operating. So yes, if I make a mistake, I've got Christ inside of me. I can keep going. it's all good. It's not the end of the world, you know. So yeah, that's what I would say is like, you know, last year was last year. It's a new year. You know, let's start again and keep it simple as well. Keep it simple.
Amazing. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Anita. Thank you so much. And I think one thing I've gotten from what you've said is just about being intentional. So being intentional in every day, focusing on your goals intentionally, putting time aside to work on your goals or to try and achieve your goals. If that's, for me, not going on TikTok, going into the rabbit hole of TikTok and going in for 10 minutes and
Korean dramas, which is me.
3 hours later, you're still there.
Yeah.
And also, leaving room for God.
Yes.
For God to do what only He can do with our plans, because we have our plans, but God has plans for us. And I think it's just relinquishing that control onto Him and letting Him take control of the plans in which we say we have for ourselves, really. So thank you so much. And I guess you're now happy that you've done this, right?
Whatever. We'll take that one offline, but yes, fine. You've done it.
Thank you so much, Anita.
You're welcome.
That was such a blessing. Thank you. I'm going to move on now to our next speaker. Hold on, let me. Sorry, guys. I don't know if everyone's got the hang of Zoom and Teams and everything, but I'm still learning. So I'm a bit slow and I apologize in advance for my slowness. And also just wanted to say, please, thank you to everyone who's been commenting in the chat. The comments are hilarious. Michelle, I'm with you about crying into champagne. Me, I can't afford champagne, so it's Prosecco for me. I cry into my Prosecco. Thanks, Michelle. I cry into my champagne when, not champagne, Prosecco, when things don't go according to plan. And also, please write down all your questions, as we will be going into breakout rooms where you can ask every speaker a question at the end. So going next to our speaker, you can all see who it is. I just want a small introduction. This woman I should really call her auntie, to be honest, because she is like an auntie to me. She used to blow fire up my bum, like serious fire up my bum. But, now looking back, I needed that fire. I needed those tellings off. I needed that because now I can look back and I can say, actually, I needed that. So I am what I do now. It all makes sense. She is one of the most kindest people you'd meet. Her and her husband would literally give you the last shirt off their backs to help you. They're also about building a community, building people up. They love to see people win. They love to see people achieve their goals and their purpose. So I just wanted her to come on today and just share her journey, share their journey of, career and making yourself attractive in the marketplace, but more so just going through that journey of life, essentially, and career-wise. So I'm handing it over to my auntie, Auntie Ife.
Thank you. Thanks, Mabs. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ife Oti. Married to Choti. I have 2 children. So career-wise, I'm currently working within the information security space in IT. It's been a journey, which I will touch on. When you ask God to take control, you never see where He's going. But if you trust Him, it's amazing what He does. I started my career here in the UK within the data analysis space, became a software tester. I got into IT purely for the money. Didn't have any goal, no plan, no roadmap. I just heard that they pay contractors X amount of money a day. And I was like, show me, how do I do it? And I got in. But then looking back, I think somehow God catches your attention with something. I probably wouldn't have considered this part, not knowing that actually this is the part that he has, or he had in his grand plan. This is where I'm supposed to be. So got into software testing, got bored quite, not because I had mastered it. Was going to actually leave IT because I was running an event company then, and I'm still passionate about events. I wanted to do that full time, but my husband then said, "You sure?" And I prayed about it. He's a business analyst, had kicked off his career in that space. And then I transitioned into business analysis. Whilst I was working as a BA, got into as a BA within information security, so the security space. And I sort of felt, I mean, I'd worked as at that point, I'm a contractor, so I've jumped around who is paying more, you catch me. I jumped around different domains within public and private sector, different technologies, delivered whatever it is they wanted to deliver. But when I got into InfoSec, there was something I just felt, this is what I felt, something felt right. And that's how God starts prompting you towards where you're supposed to actually be going. But then I asked him, I prayed, I said, okay, Daddy, I mean, all along, it's not like he hasn't been leading me, but I just wanted him to just really take, because at some point I knew I had to settle down after paying the school fees and everything. I had to settle into something. You can do jobs and you can have a career. You can build, things that are just all over the place, or you can consolidate to something. There's a legacy that you're going to leave behind. I just felt this was probably 5 years ago that I needed to settle somewhere. So I prayed, but then I didn't realize it was going to give me the long route. I mean, up until then, I graduated, got my first degree at age 20. I'm almost 50 now. Nobody should roll their eyes. That's why I like to say it. So it's been a long time. If I wanted to do an MSc, I think I would have done like 7 of them from age 20 when I got my first degree. But all the while, all I did was short courses, testing, do the certification, project management, do the certification. Everything was sharp, and you get the certification and you transition in. But he asked me to go and do not just an MSc that was 18 months. The minimum you can actually do this program with Royal Holloway, minimum that you're just bang on, nothing else, is 3 years. Me, right now, it's taking me about 5 years with every other thing that's happened. So I started a journey, and I'm just about to conclude it. Right, I was finishing what I thought was my last exam last year, 2020. He then tells me to start doing the certifications, and one of them being CISP. It's they call it the GOAT certificate. When people told me, they were telling me, oh, I failed this time. I was like, how can you fail exams this time? Are you an Olodo? Sorry, I'm Nigerian. Come on. I thought it was a joke. I'm yet to find someone who's passed that exam, and this is what he's now asked me to do. So I sort of gauged, people said, oh, it takes you a minimum of 6 months to prepare. It takes you at least 1 year to prepare for just one of the certifications. I thought it was a joke. I told everybody last year, oh, I'm writing an exam, which was what I told Martin why I couldn't do this thing last year. So come August, I was like, I'm going to write by August, I'm ready, I'm going to go and smash it. It happened, moved the exam. September, moved it. October, November, December. In fact, as I'm speaking to you, this week gone, I've just moved the exam again to March, but I can't move it again because I'll now have to pay, and it's an expensive exam. But what am I saying? When you actually walk with God, He doesn't just tell you the what, if you're listening. He tells you the hows, and He tells you the how at the point that you need to hear it. My journey with Him, especially with this career, has just been, just everything you hear scripture, people preach, tell you strategy, they tell you this and all that. It's all true, honestly. I'm going to start from where God, what He told me. All this I said was my intro, my binti, sorry. What He asked me to say, because when my binti, when I finally accepted, and I had to go back to Him and say, ask Daddy, me, I don't do cameras. If this is your will, what would you have me say? Anita has just confirmed, because she said quite a lot of them, a lot of things that I heard, which just confirms to me that this is what all of us, because as I'm speaking to myself, I'm reminding myself of the things I know, the things I've heard, things people have said, the things that we know. Some of these things, all of these things, must have heard it or we know it. The problem is that we're probably not doing it, or not doing how we should do it. And so we're not moving, things are not changing. Right now, more than ever, I think we need to hear what God is saying for us, for today, for now, for me, my journey, where I should be. If you're in a role or in a position in a company, you're working with this terrible boss that you want to run away, this is not the time to move or not move based on emotion, based on frustration, based on fear. Any step that we take right now has to come from the Father. Any step. If you don't know the what you're supposed to be doing, if you don't have a career, I love the way Anita did the mind map, because it's the wholeness, it's the whole of us, it's the spiritual, a lot of us, we do the spiritual and we forget the physical. If you're not well, you can't pray. We do the financial, we're very good with money, then every other part. So, but it's the wholeness. He said, His will is for us to prosper. All, everything about you, wholeness, the family, relationship, financially, everything. So if you don't know the what, or you know the what, and you don't know the how, you've got to go back and ask Him and get clear instructions, even if it's for just that one step, what you're going to be doing in the next 1 hour, or the next month, or the next year. However, and Anita's talked about setting goals. Whatever timeline you're using, you've got to hear Him. You have to have a plan, not our plan, but His plan, so that we know that we are right in the center of His will. Last year was a year for me. We were sharing earlier that I could actually say last year was the best year of my life. Serious battles, but bigger God. For the first time in my entire life, I didn't earn a dime almost for a year in my entire life. Because people have known me to be active, we run a training. I've mentioned I have an event business. I've always been working as a contractor. I've enjoyed that favor. So a lot of people felt I was not being active. I had my past students, advising me on how to write my CV. But maybe you need to change your CV. I was like, okay. But I know they were coming from a heart of concern. Because, a duck one of my darlings asked me one day if I'm doing a doc. I didn't understand. But then, since she said that, it's been, ministering to me. When they stay still on the surface, they stay still, you see the pretty side. You don't know what's going on behind. Because a lot of people saw that there was nothing happening in my life, that I was still. Even myself, I thought that as well. But God was doing something underneath. Because when he transitioned me from business analysis to information security space that I'm in now, that I didn't even know that I was ready for, because I haven't done the certification, like I just said. And he didn't just get me in, he made me a delivery lead in a role that I should be going in at an entry position. But with God, when you move with him, you never really lose anything, I found. Joseph, the days that he spent in the pit, I don't know how many days, whilst he was a slave, I don't know how long that tarried, while he was in prison. By the time he got to God placing him where he should be, there was really nothing lost. So we cannot take a step this year or any other year without knowing the what, and not just running because you've heard the what, breaking it down to the hows. And that's where those SMART objectives that Anita spoke about, where they fit in. Another thing he said I should start with was to ask, how do I start? How would this happen? It's vision that everybody talks about, vision, but not just any vision, God's vision. How does God see you? Do you have an idea? You can't ever be the best version of yourself. I can never be the best version of myself by accident. I can't lie down at home, not do jack. Life is passing, and wake up and say, this is the best me. You have to, God is intentional, so you have to be intentional with things. Last year I put on so much weight because I was studying and I was comfort eating with everything happening. I woke up. My sister-in-law said to me, I know you think your body hides fat. This one is not hidden anymore. Because it was obvious. To lose it, I am intentionally working at it now. I cannot, especially at my age, think that if I don't work this body, that will just remain like that and I keep eating everything that I'm eating. It's not going to happen. So nothing about us it doesn't happen by, the people that have made money, built empires and whatever it is, they didn't just wake up and manifested. They did something. What God said is, it's not enough to just have an idea. There's so much noise right now. Everything I hear now is product, all fantastic. But is it a good idea? Or is it a God-given idea? That's the difference. If God gives you the idea, it is done. The only thing you need to wait for is the timing, when in his plan it should manifest. But that it will happen is guaranteed. Simple, because his word is sure. If we don't have a vision, if we don't see from his perspective, we'll just be jumping. Project management is raining, you jump. If some doctors would have jumped out of their medical line when the IT market was booming, some did actually. But we always, and I did confess that start of my career, that was what I was doing. They tell me this one is paying. you jump. This one is happening, jump. It might be how God is leading you, but just make sure that whatever shifts you're making, however you're repositioning yourself, what I'm going to speak about is really how we position ourselves. But before we get there, the position that you're getting into, whether it's where you're currently at, or you're moving, there's a shift, you're moving to something else. It's got to be God. If you go to Chapel of Life, Pastor Olu did a series on the fruit of the tree of life, the fact that the tree in the garden is a tree that bears fruit. So it was good, it's food for you to eat. But the fact that it was good, it wasn't God, it wasn't what God wanted them to do. So that we have that, we make sure that, the vision that we have of ourselves, where we should be, that is God-given. I joke, when I came out this morning, I saw snow. I asked my husband, where are we retiring to? Winter months. I need to start seeing it. Maybe start walking towards it. You have to see it. Whether it's short term, like Anita said, for the 1 year, by the end of this 2021, what is God putting in my heart that I should at least have a glimpse of, or, you're walking towards. If you're blank, it's okay. Go back to Him and ask Him. God speaks. Don't just run off. Run off, we do what Israelites did. A journey that is 11 days, you do it for 40 years. We don't want that. Close your eyes and visualize, where do you want to be? What do you see? When you see and when you know where you're going, you stay on your lane. No matter how people are drifting, you stay on your lane. When I said during 2021, a lot of people thought I wasn't being active. For the first time in my entire life, I was so sure I was right at the center of His will, that I was doing exactly what He asked me to do. What was that? He asked me to go and write exam. Simple. He didn't tell me to start another company, not that I couldn't. He didn't tell me to invest. He didn't tell me to do it. He just said, write your exam, your certification. At that point, I didn't even know how long it would take me to prepare for this exam that I've been moving. But I sat down every single day. I'm begging Him, I want to be able to read a book that is not textbook and not feel bad, but I have to pass the exam. Anita mentioned buying the course without doing the exam, you haven't obeyed Him. That you buy the course, Remy is going to touch on that, and Udemy, all these courses that people buy and fill their baskets and they never go through them. It doesn't add value to where you're going. So it is technically a waste of money that you could have channeled to something else. Buying a course sounds good, but if you don't accomplish it, if you don't actually use it, and if the course you bought does not align to where God is taking you to, it's like I want to be a doctor, and I go to buy material, I don't know, books on how to be a farmer. How does that help solve the problem? So it's a waste. So that's what we have to know, hear God, and know where we're going. I'm talking about, all these things, because when you then identify where you think God is taking you to, that's where, every other thing that you hear, the tools, the techniques, then become valuable, and then they will help you take a step further towards your goal, whatever roadmap you have. Another thing all of us need to deal with, it's if, because we're talking about mental health here, if for any reason you have any, limiting beliefs, things, the noise in your ears, maybe you failed an exam before and God is telling you to do this certification, like Anita mentioned, say project management, and like, no, I don't read, you have to deal with that. So that you give him space. Whatever it is that you need to get out of the way, you need to clear. And then you need to assess where you're at. You have to be truthful to yourself. It's easy to aspire to be X if you know that you're here. Maybe why God wants you to start right at the bottom is because along the way, there are other attributes or character or correction, whatever it is that he wants to do to get you to where you are. Remember what I said, if you obey him, I've found that you don't miss out on anything by the time you get to where he's taking you to. You might look and say, okay, like in my case, I was like doing a long-term degree was going to be forever. But the people that probably did this short-term certification have not gotten to where he placed me with my very first role. And that's who God is. Before you go, don't go ill-prepared. Every industry, they have the way they operate. Like especially with CVs, which I'll touch on, because we help, we train students in business analysis. And for each one of them, before your CV is the passport, no matter if you like read study PhD up to PhD level, or be whatever it is, have all the knowledge and experience. If your document, that CV, if it's not, especially in this time that I hear is how many thousand CV to one role. If your CV is not well put together, it's not strong enough to open that door for you, from the agents actually picking it out from the whole pile to getting it to an employer and it's attracting them to invite you in for interview before you even get to the interview stage. If your CV does not do that talking for you, or whatever it is you have your profile, be it on LinkedIn, if it doesn't sell you, it's pointless. So those are the tools that you need. I'll get to that. But before you get to that point, you can't go ill-prepared. In my career of writing CVs or helping people to write CVs, people come to you and I don't write CVs for people. I don't tell you what to do with your CV. You write it, I'll help you based on the grades that we have. Let it call out the keywords that you want them to want to attract in the market that you're going into. If you put anything in there that you can't defend, it will find you out. That's simple. If you slip through the interview, say grace abounded that day on your behalf, and you enter the job, you have to do the job. So you will say, they asked me to do X. When people say they asked me to do X, I'll ask them, is X on your CV? Because people forget what they put on there. So they've hired you based on the fact that you said you could do X. Do not go ill-prepared. If you need to do the certifications, you do it and pass it. If you need to just study, you have to clear your calendar. And as I mentioned that she's moved her Korean movie watching to weekends. I've mentioned that I want to be able to read a book that is not a textbook and not feel bad. I give myself a break sometimes, but you know what I mean. you have to, nothing is by accident. You have to create the time to get what you want to achieve done. You have to be that disciplined. You can't want 6 packs and not do the plank. It would be nice anyway, but you'll have to be able to do that. Mindset, Anita mentioned mindset as well. There has to be a growth mindset. You have to not kill yourself, but God has given you the vision. I can see where I would be, where I would like to be if I'm working with him, and if this is what he's saying is right, if I just follow him. In 60 years, I'll be able to do this. I'll be able to have finished paying my children's school fees. I'll be able to retire on one island. Whatever it is that you're seeing, those are the long-term goals. But then to get to that point, what are the little steps that I need to take, the specific ones, the small tangible ones that I can break down and tick off and say that they've been time boxed. You know, I can say after a month I've achieved that, 6 months I've done that, 1 year. That takes me to that long-term goal. I have to be able to do that. Mindset. When you move, don't be like Lot's wife. I try not to do that. I think the question Mabinti asked Anita, 2020 is gone. This is 2021. It's a new day. That's my prayer. And as I wake up, I say, God, Father, it's a new day. Your mercy. Yeah, new every morning. Start again. Everything that I did not achieve yesterday, I start again. All this is taking me to where I want to be, the position that I want to get to. Once we've done all of that, the next thing I want to touch on, if you're not shifting, because sometimes when we talk about repositioning, we think it's always about changing jobs or changing career, and it might be that. Sometimes it might just be where you are at, but a shift in your perspective, a shift in your thinking, a shift in the way you relate with someone. I shared something with someone yesterday. When I was getting into this role, the lady that interviewed me was a lady. My line manager is a lady. We ladies were very emotional. God has a way of giving me expo, so prompting me. For me, I pay attention, because that means there'll come a time where I'll need to be alert or be mindful of that thing. I know I'm a woman, so we're very emotional. When you have women as line managers, sometimes they tend to sometimes micromanage, or they have good days and bad days. I felt anyway, and that was my experience on this role, my first month. I felt she needed to trust me, but I kept cool, maybe because I already sensed that. And everything, by the time I was able to maybe prove myself and all that, it's eased off quite a bit. But a friend of mine then got a role and has a line manager as a female. And she was very happy, and we're praising God and everything. I just felt to tell her that, remember this experience, and remember that God gave you this role. Remember the testimony and everything, because when things, start feeling funny, just remember that it's God that gave you this role, and that for God to have placed you under her, there's a reason. So focus on what it is God has placed you there for. Funny, yesterday she sent me a message and said, Ify, I'm trying to understand my manager. I think she micromanages. I had to laugh. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And I said, do you remember when I said this to you? I said, this was my experience. That's why I said that to you. I said, you have to remember why God put you there. That whilst being calm under this lady, I have learned so much. God saw it fit for me to work under a woman, me. So we have to trust him.
Yeah. Sorry, Sister Ife, you're dropping so many nuggets, but the time is
Really.
so I just wanted to just interrupt just slightly and just ask you the question. So what, if you could just, is it consolidate all that you've just said into 3 tips, what would they be?
What does God want for me? What is my assignment? What should I be doing? If I don't know, ask him or ask him. Then if I know, how? Because in his moving, at different points, he will keep leading me. For any point that I don't know, ask him. So don't just say what, but how. I can come here and say, position yourself, do CV, do that. But my path and your path will differ. Even within different domain, you know, what is standard is not standard for everyone. So for me, that is really, it's really critical, that one. And then we identify at every point that for today, I am in the center of his will. I'm doing what I know, I'm convinced, I can confidently, you know, when you can confidently tell somebody, no, this is what God wants me to do, that you are at that point, so that all the noise, every other thing that's going on around you, you won't drift. You're anchored because you know this is what God has appointed for me to be doing at this point. I'm positioned. For me, that's what positioning is. At work, you know, whatever marketplace you find yourself, my house is the marketplace. Anywhere you're at, it's that you are positioned to doing what God has. Every other thing that you need, the tools, CV, and every other thing, it's just all those things are just, you know, they're all available. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, what CV are you writing? That's what I have to say.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think one thing, especially around the CV writing, that I took from what you said is don't lie. Don't lie or don't over embellish your CV. A friend told me a really funny story of how somebody, and unfortunately, a Nigerian man worked within her law firm, and he took a job as an IT manager, and he had never experienced being an IT manager or didn't read up. Sometimes it's not about experience, it's about knowledge. He didn't have the knowledge to do the job. And he got there, and when a laptop would break or something would break, he would call up Microsoft and ask them for advice on how to fix it. And his line manager was like, I thought you were a line manager. I thought an IT manager. I thought you could do this, you know, basic sort of fixing of software or troubleshooting things. So I guess what I'm saying is just not over embellishing your CV. And also last month, Nadia, who shared about her experience with work, one thing she said was she began to succeed, or she succeeded in her interviews when she started to see herself the way God saw her. And I think if I want anyone to go away today with something, is starting to see yourself the way God sees you. God loves you. He wants to prosper you. Those are his plans, is to prosper you, make you great. Believe that. And CV, interviews, and all that stuff will fall into place once you start actually believing in God's promises for you.
Mabiti, can I just add something? Sorry. You see, with CVs, this is 3 years of working with people. What I tell them is, one, please don't let someone write your CV for you. Don't pay anyone. It's painful to write, but write it yourself. Your CV is about you. Whatever format you adopt, it has to be about, it tells your story. We have people that have 10,000 CV, okay, let me not exaggerate, 5 CVs with different names. I'll use Yoruba names, forgive me. Ola, Folu, the F, comma, I've seen all of it. Different profiles. I had to ask somebody ask the person, are you bipolar? How many people are you? Who are you? Are you a project manager? Or are you a product owner? Or who are you? How can you have multiple profiles flying? Your CV is one document that is about you. It doesn't matter if you started as a sales girl, but it tells the story of how you started up to where you are at now. It's your story. And then when you write your CV yourself, defending it at an interview, you don't have to cram it because you wrote it. It's about you. So you're just going into any interview to have the conversation. The problem won't be because you can't defend what is on your CV. The problem will probably be that maybe the skill set that they're looking for, maybe it doesn't quite match, or someone else that had stronger experience in that area may have interviewed alongside you. So that's what the issue will be. It won't be because you put something on your CV you couldn't defend. So I just really need to add that. Interviews become, when people say interview techniques and all that, yes, but interviews are just conversation. Like we're talking. Best interviews are the ones that you're natural, you're just talking about yourself. You're just saying what you have done in past roles. Nobody's going to ask you something outside what you documented. So you have to be sure that what you documented is correct.
And true, yeah, I totally agree. I think it was actually Uncle Uche that said to me, when you go into an interview, is you actually have the upper hand in that because they want to know you. So although they're interviewing you for whether you fit the role, but also you should interview them. And he said to me, treat it as a performance. Like, give your best, go in there and give your best performance, give your best self, put your best self out there, treat it like a conversation. Don't be, I know it's easier said than done. I even coming on today, I was nervous, but it's about pushing through that fear and pushing through that and just going in with the mentality that they want you, that you've passed.
Exactly. I have something I'm selling. Can you pay? Yeah. Simple.
Exactly. Great. Thank you so much, Sister Ife. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for saying yes. I know it wasn't easy for you to say yes, but I thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. And thank you so much for sharing so many nuggets on there in that talk. Next, because we are going over time, the plan was to break out into breakout rooms, but unfortunately, time is against us. Well, time is never against us. We are against the time at the moment. So I'm going to introduce our final speaker, Sister Remi, everyone's big sister, honestly. Sister Rems, I first met Sister Rems in House on the Rock maybe about 10 years ago, actually, when we were doing the Nana play. And I remember her just coming, hi, what's your name? And, wanting to get to know me and everything like that. And she's always there to help people. Every time there's an event or, someone's doing something, she's always like, babe, do you need anything? Let me know if you need anything. Yeah, I'm here for you. And it just goes to show her heart, the person that she is, and just how kind, generous with her time and her advice as well. And we are definitely going to be so blessed because Remi on the money is here to tell us, share with us how to have a healthy relationship with our finances, with our money. Over to you, Sis Rem.
Hi guys, hi. I'm actually quite nervous today because I don't actually do this on a regular basis. I don't even do this at work. So you guys are in for a treat. I hope what I'm going to share today does actually bless you guys. If not all, at least one. I hope it really.
I'm a big guy.
Okay.
Oh, listen, but you still with us.
Sorry, can I ask everyone to put themselves on mute,
So
please.
yeah, and I hope it really blesses somebody today, because it's quite a story and it's quite a journey that I went through last year. So first of all, I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to introduce myself, obviously, as even though Mabinti has kindly introduced me. So who is Remy? So who am I? I've been working for a company for over 22 years. I am a senior financial analyst. So I basically look after all the costs that relates to advertising and people costs. So I get to see quite a lot of confidential information. I'm also single, ready to mingle, and I'm the founder of Remy on the Money, which got birth in June 2020. So that, yeah. And like I said, I'm still single, and yeah, 22 years of worth of experience in finance. So I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So I'll go straight into it because of time. So one of the things I'm going to first share with you, and through my journey, is at the beginning of 2020, I was in a mess. I'll be honest. I was in a mess. Let me stop sharing for a second. I was in a mess, and when I say I was in a mess, it was basically I didn't have a clear direction in terms of where I was going. So one of my sisters in church actually told me about a prayer session that was going on in church. And I was like, oh, I didn't want to go. So I go to Chapel of Life. So I joined. The day that I joined, they couldn't fit me in on that day. So they were going to put me onto another day. So even the day that I was meant to join, I didn't join. Somebody had to call me. I think Faith even had to call me, one of my sisters. Faith had to call me, Sister Rem, you need to join. So that day I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say, what I wanted to share. Then I messaged Nadia, oh, Nads, what do I do? Nadia, what do I do? She just said, go as you, just do whatever you want to do. So that day, I just basically broke down. I broke down because, like I said, I was in a mess because I didn't have direction of where I wanted to go. I just didn't have I wasn't in a good place. So I shared my story, and Pastor just said to me, Remy, you need to rest. Pastor just said, stop everything that you were involved in, stop everything that you were doing, just rest. Okay? You know, when you hear something and then you're thinking to yourself, what does that mean? I didn't actually understand what that meant at the time. So as instructed, I didn't get involved in anything. I took a step back on a lot of things. Like Mabinti said, I get involved with quite a lot of stuff. And at that point, I didn't get involved in anything. And if I did get involved, I wasn't heavily involved and I was not immersed in it. So as I was taking a step back, I started to look at every area of my life. When I say every area, I started from the top all the way to the bottom. So it involved my spiritual life, it involved my finances, it involved everything, my health, everything. COVID just allowed all of us to put on the weight, and I was putting on the weight, and I just, like I said, I was in a mess. So I took a stock take of my life. And I just decided at that point that I wanted something better. So I mean, although I'm talking about financial goals, there were certain things I put in place before the whole financial goals. But the things that I put in place were things like I got myself a mentor. I got a personal development mentor. I even went to therapy, no joke. I went to therapy, and through therapy, it highlighted so many different things for me that I was able to work on. As well as having a personal development mentor, I also got a finance mentor, sorry, because I can't be 100% in control of everything. I need people to help me to go on this journey. So at the beginning of the year, when I decided I wanted a better life for myself, I did a stock take of everything, like I said. So I started going into every single area. So budgeting was one of them. And sorry, I'm stepping forward. So with my financial goal, and like Anita said, you need to make your goals smart. So one of my financial goal was I wanted to buy a house, but I only had 5 grand in my bank account. Buying a house has been a dream of mine for years. And I'm not lying, guys. People that know me, my board of directors are here. They're in here. So they know I've been wanting to buy a house for a very, very long time. But I only had 5 grand in my bank account. Throughout the whole process of, throughout the season of COVID, I started to do a budget. So when I say I started to do a budget, it wasn't a fluffy budget. It was a specific budget. It was geared towards that financial goal. My financial goal, yes, it was to buy a house, but buying a house doesn't just mean buying a house. It means you have to look at all your credit. You have to look at obviously how much money you can afford to save. You just basically have to look at your financial life and just make certain decisions about your financial life. So for me, because I've got 20 odd years experience in budgeting, and like I said, I'm the founder of Remy on the Money, so I didn't tell you about Remy on the Money. So Remy on the Money is helping young professionals and individuals to take back control of their finances. So, which is another reason why I had to get a finance mentor for myself, because if I'm helping other people to manage their finances, I needed somebody to also help me with my finances. So with budgeting, it was basically, I was ruthless. Guys, I'm not actually joking. I was ruthless with my budgeting because prior to 2020, I was living my best life. I was living my best life in the sense that if I wanted to spend, I'll spend it. I didn't care. I didn't care. So I spent what I wanted and I just didn't care about the end result. Budgeting didn't mean I still didn't care. It just meant I was now in control and I was putting things into perspective. So your budgeting has to be in line with your goals, your financial goals. So like I said, my financial goal was to save, to buy a house. So what did I do? I went through all my budget. I went through every single line item on my I went through every single line item on my budget and I basically was ruthless with myself. So where I was spending anyhow, I just cut back on a lot of stuff. The other thing about budgeting and your financial goal is you need to share it with people around you so that they can hold you accountable. Having a budget is great and having a financial goal is great, but if you do not revisit them on a regular basis, it's just dead. So it's not going to move anywhere. So one of the things I did last year was actually share my financial goal with my mentors and my board of directors. My board of directors are people who I have around me that support my vision and help me along the way. So like I said, I got a coach, a personal development coach, as well as a mentor. And honestly, there are even people on this call that are my coach and my mentors, but they just don't know about it. But they get regular calls from me on a regular basis. So for me, it was very important, and especially given where my state of mind was, because I wasn't feeling great about myself. So it was good to get a personal development mentor, and my coach's name, I hope he doesn't mind, is Aaron T. Aaron. He basically helped me like to understand things a lot better than what I did before. So he helped to coach me along the way that I was feeling and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I also got a therapist who also helped me along the way as well. So everybody was just coming from different angles to just help me to manage the way I was feeling and the way that I was thinking. My finance mentor, when I asked her to be my mentor, she was surprised. She was really surprised to be asked, but I really valued, and that's another thing, when you're choosing a mentor and a coach, you have to obviously pray about them, but make sure it's not somebody that would just be a yes man, you're no man. Make sure the person, you respect their views and their values. That's very, very important. I also have a branding mentor. She doesn't like me to call her that, but honestly, guys, Remy on the Money is not where it is today if it hadn't been for the coaching that I had from Michelle Marby Davies. That girl is just phenomenal. And my other mentor around my whole life, obviously my board of directors, and some of them are actually on this call. Annabelle's there, Balale's here, and Sister Ify, I'm going to say her name. Sister Ify's here, Michelle, even Shows is here as well. So these guys are my rock. They don't know that they're my rock, and Ayo's also here. They don't know they're my rock because I haven't officially told them, but these guys carried me throughout 2020. They carried me throughout 2020 because honestly, guys, I was a mess, a complete mess. But, I'm getting to the cocoa of the oral. It's important to surround yourself with people, not just people that will be active in your life. It is so important to surround yourself with a community. I belong to various different communities, and some of them are actually on this call. I belong to a fantastic church, if I must say so, Chapel of Life, down to the fact that, the heads of church will check up on you. Mommy also sent me a message the other day. I've not seen you for a while, but what's going on? Because she knows I'm very active. But, it's very, very important to surround yourself with good people, because they are fundamentally the people that will help you through this journey that we all called life. Yeah, no matter whatever goals you have, it's so important to surround yourself with really, really good people. And to the extent that, the communities that I belong to, all I did was post on there that I am going to be speaking today. And honestly, I can see their names. They are all here. And it's just to support me on this platform. That's what they're here for, to support me on this platform. So guys, if I give you anything, and if you take anything away today, surround yourself with good people that no matter where you are, there's times I've called my friends and I've just said, I just need a hug. I'm single. I don't have a man to be hugging. So I call my friends and I say, I need a hug. That's how deep it is. And there's times I've cried on my groups or this kind of thing. Be vulnerable with your community. Be vulnerable with your board of directors, because that is what they are there for. It's not even about, there's one friend of mine, her name is Fatima, she's here somewhere. If I need somebody to put my life or slap me in the face, but with love, that's the one person I will call. And she's known me since the age of 10. Sorry, no, not 10. She's known me for quite a long time. We've got like 20 plus years friendship. But yeah, community is really, really important. So like I said, I started this year with $5 grand in my bank account. As the year went on, because of how disciplined I was with my budget, it wasn't just sorting out my budget. My credit was bad. Guys, my credit was bad. Like I said, I was living my best life. So please don't judge me. I was living my best life. So all of these things all had a part in my mental state of mind, my mental state. So because of that, I just basically took everything out and I started to look at everything one by one. And it's part of also the service I offer on Remy on the Money in terms of, you know, getting your credit back into a good state, because you can't buy a house with bad credit. You can't do anything in this country with bad credit. So honestly, guys, this is no joke. My credit at the beginning of this year was poor. My debt was high. I'm being real and I'm being honest with you guys right now. Like when you see Remy, you see Remy, you say, this girl is fine, no. But people, look, we just all have to thank God that we don't look like how we feel, or we don't look like what is actually happening in our life. I can proudly say that people are going through stuff that nobody really knows about. So for me, it was about sorting my life out. It wasn't just the financial aspects of my life. It was all about the weight. I signed on with one of my friends who's a nutritionist. Guys, this girl is phenomenal. She looked at my food and she helped me. Like she just said, no, you can't eat that. No. Seriously, you need. The only way I can say this is, don't think you have to go alone in anything that is happening in your life. I think that's the fundamental thing that we all, some of us have, is that there's this shame stigma that if you are vulnerable, people will start judging you. Let them. I didn't care, because guess what? I knew I didn't want to continue to feel the way I was feeling. I knew there was a better way of life for me. And, you know, for me, it was just about not feeling shame, not feeling judgmental. And that's another thing, like the people you surround yourself and you talk to, they will not judge you. And that's why it's good to pray and it's good to pick the right people. The people you surround yourself with will not judge you. That's not the essence of having board of directors. The essence is from them to move you from point A to point B. So for me, it was about wanting a different life. So I just, you know, like even my spiritual life, I said, I knew I needed help. I spoke to somebody who I value very, very much. And I asked her, would you be my spiritual coach? She looked at me. Huh? He was surprised as well. But for me, it was fundamental to place people in the area that I am not good at. One of the things that my coach always says to me is, you don't have to be a perfection in everything. If there are areas in your life that you know you're not good at, give it to somebody else to help you with it. You don't have to you don't have to do everything by yourself. I know I'm mixing things up, sorry, but it's just how it's coming through. So for me, I'll try and get back on track again. So it was about just having the right people to help me and guide me through that journey. So like I said again, I started off with $5,000, and as I went through all my budget, cutting here, cutting there. And again, like I said, budgeting is not about depriving your life. It's about being more in control of what you're spending. So to, again, to Anita's point about being specific to your goals, my goal was to buy a house. So that was my vision. My financial goal for 2020 was to buy a house. And underneath that was to sort out my credit and to get my my debts cleared and all that kind of stuff. My financial journey is to be debt-free. I'm not there yet. So as the year went on, You know, 5 grand became 6, 7, 8, 9, all that kind of stuff. Me too, I was very excited. I was like, so this can be done. So as the year went on, and again, about the community and about your board of directors, you know, I laughed when she did this, but one of my friends, sisters, I should say, when she told me, she asked me, you know, we need to go out for dinner. And she actually said to me, I'm telling you so that you can put it into your budget. So for me, that was quite fundamental in the sense that she knows what my vision and what my goal was, and that is her helping me to achieve that goal. So there was none of this surprise something. No. So she was giving me warnings. So, I mean, I'll share some of my financial tips in a sec, but the whole essence of what this journey was, because the vision was to buy a house. As the year went on, as the years went on, the 5 grand and my credit was improving. As you make changes in your finances, your credit moves in the same direction. So like I said, 5 grand, debt was very high. I won't tell you the percentage. And then my credit score was poor. So just remember those 3 facts I've just given you. We're now in October. My debt I cleared, was it 40%? I cleared of my debt. My credit went to, I think it was good in October. No, in August it was good. By October, my credit score, and it's with Experian, it's now was excellent. Guys, let me be real here. To achieve that, it was hard. Like Sister Ify said, you know, 2020 was her best year, even though she had so many challenges. For me, it's exactly the same. 2020 is one of the best years of my life, but it was also one of the hardest years of my life. So again, poor, now excellent. Debt cleared, what, 30, 40%? Now the savings now became, I think in October, it was like 18, 19K. Now, again, like I said, it was hard. Trust me, it was hard. But obviously family also helped with that, you know, family, you know, like, again, I'm being real and I'm really sharing with you guys. My family all collectively gave me quite not substantial, but they gave me money, yeah, towards my deposit. There's nothing wrong, again, asking family. If they can give, great. If they can't, don't hold them against it. But they were in a position to give, so they gave. So now we're approaching October, November time. But bearing in mind, so my target was 28K because there was a something deal I was going for, but that didn't happen. And that's another thing, your goals can change. It's not the end of the world if the goals does change, you just adapt. You just adapt. So me, I adapted well. I adapted very well to the point that, you know, I kept looking for houses and nothing came. I went to view many. I took so many of my sisters along the journey because I also wanted them to be part of the process. So as the time was going, you know, like I said, my goal was to buy a house by the end of the year. It was now December. I was like, sure, this is not going to happen. Do I need to change my goals? But I was diligent and I was focused, and you know, during this time, guys, I don't think I prayed as much as I've prayed in 2020, but I kept, you know, praying. Again, still in the process and still in that moment of being still and resting, like Pastor O advised. So, and for me, what that meant was focus on you, Remy. Focus on just you. And it wasn't about anybody else. It was just focused on me. So sorry, guys, I think I'm going over. So basically, to just finish off everything and to just round it up for you guys, for me, it was, so in December, I put an offer on the house and it was accepted. It wasn't just accepted, my mortgage went through and it's still going through. And I still have debts, guys. Let me just be clear about that. My debt is not 100% clear, but what helped me through this process was my credit. My credit report stayed where it is, which was in the excellent. And because I maintained that and I continuously and still reducing my debt, reducing and making sure that all my payments are up to date, because once you start getting that mortgage offer, that's when the real work comes. So just quickly, I'm just gonna share like my tips for you guys is doing your budget is just one part of the work.
Can you share your PowerPoint with your?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Because I didn't want it, I wanted everyone to be blessed by it.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, 1 second. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so like I said, doing your budget is just one part of it. You need to know your numbers inside and out. You need to know what is coming in, what is going out, and be realistic with your budget. Stop doing hypothetical budgets in your head. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You need to write it down. And one of the things I will also say is don't just do 1 month budget, do a whole year's budget. I got 2 of my clients to do a whole year's budget. When they saw how much they spent on an annual basis on a particular area, they felt disgusted. And that's the word that they used. They felt disgusted and overwhelmed. Again, doing your budget is one part. You need to review your budget on a 3 to 6 month basis. Every 3 to 6 months basis, you need to review your budget. You need to review your budget because what you spend, yeah, you need to always try to reduce it. So if it's your electricity, you can get new deals. If it's your Sky, you can change your package. It's not, you just need to continue reviewing it. Review. Third, you need to learn the word unscribe button. You need to use click the unscribe button. How many of us sign up to so many sales emails? You need to let those sales go. If you are not achieving your financial goals, you have no business spending extra money on sales that you have not accounted for. Let me be clear, you have not accounted for. So that's number 3. Number 4, I can't stress this enough, guys. You need to sort out your debts. Debts are just a pain in the ass, and I just said is. Sorry, but they are a pain to have, but it's a catch-22 in the UK. You kind of have to use credit to buy for stuff, but what people forget to do is pay for that credit. So having a credit card is good, though. Let me be honest. Having a credit card is good, but you need to be mindful that you need to pay that credit card off. You can't just be paying. Paying minimum payment is great, but you need to look at what your minimum payment is versus what the interest that they're charging you. Because if you're paying a minimum payment of £150, but your interest is 140, you are only paying off £10 off that debt. I'll leave that there for a second. Then the other thing that we are all guilty of is subscriptions. We've all done trial subscriptions and then it runs out after a certain date. How many of us has forgotten to stop those subscriptions? Me, I've done it many times, I'll be honest. I've subscribed to Amazon and I wanted to use the free trial. By the time I now saw a bill for £79 in my bank account, what? So be mindful when you sign up for free trials. Be very, very mindful. If you want to start, there's nothing wrong with signing up for free trial, but put the end date in your calendar so that it will remind you that you need to stop that subscription. Last but not least, you need to invest in your future. Invest in your future. So I know that there's 5 pillars of wealth: real estate, investment, business, sales, and marketing, right? You need to invest in your future. I mean, like I've just shared, I've now invested my future into the real estate. I've started Remy on the money. I've recently started investing in stocks and shares. If you don't know enough about it, do your research. I did a session with 2 of my really, really good sisters. And I said, if I'm going on this journey, we are going on it together, right? So if you can do your research. I also belong to a group where they share stocks to invest in. And it's only £17 a month that I pay for that. And they share some really amazing nuggets in that group. So I hope that has blessed you. Sorry, I did kind of waffle a little bit, but I was just going as how I felt, because as the information was coming into my brain, that's how I was delivering it. Sorry.
Don't apologize. It was such an amazing testimony. And I think sometimes when you're going through the test, or when God is taking you through the process, you don't realize actually the impact that it may have on others. But once you shared it, I've had messages already on my WhatsApp. Whoa, that was powerful, Mabinti. Remy's really speaking life. And I was like, yes, you totally spoke life into those individuals like myself, who my hope, my goal, my long-term goal within the next 2 years is to purchase our forever home. And you really, what you said about you may still have debt, but working on improving your credit, for me, that hit home, because I was like, that's what I need to hear right now. And I know so many other people needed to hear it. So thank you so much. I just had one question before I open it up for questions from everyone. For you, Remy, is how do you keep, by the way, I love your concept of board of directors. I think you should, what do you call it? Trademark it.
Trust me, it's not mine.
Plagiarize it. But other than your board of directors, where do you find the motivation to keep so diligent with your budget? Because I know I had the budget for Christmas, and then I went to Boots and I thought, you know what, Mabinti, you need to upgrade your foundation, Fenty, and I ended up spending quite a bit of money buying Fenty. And I was like, oh, that wasn't in the budget, but my heart wanted it. And I thought, it's been a hard year, let me just buy it. And I did. So how do you keep yourself so disciplined, especially when it's been a hard month or been a hard year and you want to treat yourself?
See, this is it. Like I said, I was living my best life before. So I knew where I knew where I had come from. Do you know what I mean? And because I knew where I was going, I had to stay diligent to that. Now, like I said, there are times that does happen to me, but do you know what? I go back into my budget and I readjust where I can readjust. Is it that I'm eating Gary next month? I'll eat Gary. I'm fine with that. So, like I said, I do a zero-based budget. So whatever my income is, that's what my expenditure is. So if I've accounted for all my expenses, the rest of that money is going straight into my savings. And that is non-negotiable. It goes straight into my savings. Obviously, I've already accounted for clearing debts and all that kind of stuff. It goes straight into my savings. Now, if I find that I've gone over on any particular item, I just readjust. I just readjust. It may not be, that's the other thing. You may not be able to readjust the current month, but you have to find a way. Exactly. So like I said, I've eaten Gary many times. I've gone to my sister's house to go and eat. So, and I feel no shame. That's another thing. I feel no shame to do that. Michelle, she has cooked for me many times and I feel no shame. So that's the other thing. You just have to, you just have to readjust your budget. And like I said, it's not about depriving yourself from anything. Trust me, I still go to Zara and spend money. I still go to Love Hair to go and buy my wigs. I have no shames, but it's just accounting for everything that you're spending.
I love it. And one of the tips, please, everyone who's on here who may not be familiar with Remy on the Money, please go and follow her on Instagram. She posts the most amazing tips on there. One of the tips you said was make sure you're buying your clothes in the January sales, or when there's sales, and not going out and buying, you know, clothes at full price, because come in a couple of months, they're just going to go down anyway. And I saw that, I was like, this is so true. And I know I've applied a lot of your tips from Instagram on there. So please go and follow Remy on the Money. The nuggets are amazing. And if completely honest, it's transformed me this year or last year. Tolu and I started doing a budget. We had done it before, but we weren't diligent. And then we're now like, okay, yes, we have to be diligent. And we've even down to takeaways. I've put takeaways down as a budget. Credit cards, we've taken all our credit cards off, like Amazon, a Deliveroo, a Just Eat, and all that stuff. So we can just focus on pay. You know, sometimes when it's there on the drop down and you just go to it to pay, but we're like, no, we want to pay off all our credit cards. So we've taken it out of all our baskets, so we won't refer. But that's all down to you saying, okay, this is what, if you want to, you know, if you want to improve, this is what you have to do. So thank you so much for blessing us. Sister, if you wanted to say something on the back of what you've just said, and then if anyone has any questions, please either put them in the chat and I'll read them out, or shout out and ask them. And before Sister Ife talks, apologies, we are running slightly over, but hopefully we'll be done in the next 10 minutes or so. Thank you all so much for staying on. I truly appreciate it. Sister Ife.
Yes, I wanted to say, while she was speaking, one of the things that occurred to me, imagine if you've done all the SMART objectives, you've done that, you have that amazing CV, you get this role, you go through the interview process, you get offered this role, and then they do your credit check. And it's in a sector that you can't afford to have a bad credit. It's happened to so many people, and you don't want that. So it's really critical that we are accountable for the resources God has given us, our time, and definitely money, anything, relationships as well. But I just wanted to tie that into what Remy, when she was talking about bad credit, it's not just the house that will cost you. It might just cost you that dream job.
Thank you, sister. That's so true. I think I heard someone say that someone once shared with me that they had gone for an interview, they'd got it, and obviously they had to do with the finance with a bank, and they had to do a credit check, and their credit check fell short, so they had to resend their job offer. So I think that's such an important tip that you've just shared, Sister Ife. Does anyone have any questions that you'd like to ask any of our speakers, please? Yes, it will be available. I'm recording it, and it will be available possibly next week on our YouTube channel. I will email everyone who's on here or who signed up with the link once it's available.
Hi, sorry, I have a question for Anita. Yeah, thank you to everyone that has spoken. I've been really blessed. When Anita was talking about goals and she spoke about being focused. So how do you get back when you've been sidetracked? Say maybe on like in a week, you just realize that I've lost motivation for this my goal. How do you get back on it? Because sometimes I just realize that if I lose motivation, it might be until another maybe 4 weeks before I get back on it. But is there something that can get you up every day to refocus on that goal? Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for that, Jenna. I think one of the things I mentioned when I was talking was about understanding your why. Like, you know, it's one thing I was saying, you know, you can set goals and all of that, and it's great. But if you don't understand why you set that goal, what's the relevance, what's the importance of it, there will be moments, because there will be moments, even when you understand the why, that you will maybe not feel possibly motivated, or, you know, something's happened that's just kind of thrown you off whack. But if you understand, you know, why am I doing this? Why is this important? And that's what kind of works for me. And that's the thing that kind of, you know, picks me up and says, okay, you know what, even though I don't feel like this, or I've kind of, you know, fallen off the wagon, so to speak, I need to pick myself up and get back to it. And I also said, you know, obviously writing the goals down. So obviously have that goal down somewhere where you can see it. Now, I'll give you an example. So one of the things, or the goals I've set myself for this year is, you know, about kind of sort of spending more time in the Word and really wanting to kind of grow in my kind of knowledge and understanding of Christ and all of that, and making sure that in every aspect of my life, I'm reflecting Christ. And I know to do that as well, I also have to, I have to pray, right? I have to spend time in the Word. I have to listen to messages. And I mentioned that, you know, sort of back end of last year, you know, I was like literally every day watching Korean movies in the evening. That was my, Korean dramas, that was my thing. And then I kind of suddenly thought, you know what, you know, I've not done what I've said I want to do. And for me, it's really important. Why is that important to me? Because I want to live intentionally. I want my life to count for something. I want it to be relevant. And that was my why. So, you know, I said, like, you know, now I've decided, okay, only on weekends, that's only when I watch my Korean dramas. During the week, I've got to do the things I need to do. So just to sort of, you know, answer your question, understand why. And if you can't answer that question, why is this goal important? Perhaps it's not a goal you should have. And maybe that's something you need to think about. Don't know if that answers the question, Jenna.
Yes, thank you, Anita.
So powerful. Thank you, Anita. Does anyone else have any questions, thoughts, or reflections?
And can I just add something else, actually, Jenna? The other thing you might want to think about as well is whether you need to kind of look at that goal again and see whether, you know, it's a valid one. I mentor a young teenage girl at the moment. Obviously, it's all virtual at the moment. And one of the things, the materials we had to share with the girls was, you know, watching some of these TED Talks. And there's one that I watched on failure. And me personally, I don't like failure. I don't see failure as a positive thing. And so if I think I'm not going to succeed at something, I won't do it. And that in itself is a bad thing. Like, I will shy away from it. For me, failure is just not part of the journey. I don't want to do it, right? And I was listening, and I'll share this TED Talk with Mabinti, maybe she can share it to the group. And I was watching this TED Talk, it's like 6 minutes or so. And the guy, literally, he said something, he said, failure is part of success. And I was like, what? Like, I literally was like, what? And like the way he sold it, it was like, failure is actually even something almost to look forward to. Like, it's not a bad thing. So to your point about, you know, when you've started a goal and then you realize you've not done something for 4 weeks, okay, yeah, that might be the case, but that in itself can be something you learn from and actually turn it into something positive. And I think as well, what we have to do is we have to, you know, I mentioned perspective when I was talking. That word perspective is so key to life, because a lot of times we get crippled by a lens that we're looking through and things we're doing. So you failed, so you missed it. It's not the end of the world, right? We'll start again, we'll revisit it, we'll adapt, we'll change. So it really is the perspective with which you see things. And, you know, starting something and not doing something for 4 weeks is not the end of the world. Starting it and never looking back, okay, fine, that's the problem. So again, it's how you see things, it's how you look at things. And the important thing is that you get up and keep going again. You just pick yourself up and keep going again, and don't start to kind of tear yourself down and be like, oh God, I'm just useless, I'm no good at this, I might as well give up now. That's the last thing I want to add.
Mabs, can I just add something? Yeah, to Jenna, to goal is to do that thing. It's not how quickly. So sometimes we beat ourselves. The goal is to do it and do
Absolutely.
it well.
Mhm.
Mm,
So that's why perspective comes in. What is the goal? Why? What do you want? What's the outcome? What do you want from it?
mm,
So you keep your eyes focused on that.
mm,
Like I shared earlier, for this certification that I'll be moving the exam, I tell myself the goal is to pass the exam, not to do it twice. I don't want to go and sit for exam that I pay £700 for and fail it because I wanted to have done it by August when I know that things have happened that didn't get me ready. My goal is to do the exam and pass it. So you have to keep your eye on that.
And funny, we're talking about all of this. Last Sunday or Monday, I came across an Instagram post where Kirk Franklin posted a prayer where he said, God, please let me not die with all these seeds you have planted within me. And then he went on to say that many of us, God has given us a vision, or God has given us something that he wants for us to water and bring forth. And because the situation may not be right, or we may not have the finances, or something may not be according to what we think is right or is perfect, we don't do it. And then we die with so many, gifts or so many seeds that he's wanted us to plant that will bless his people and may even make us money, who knows? But we are always waiting for that perfect time. And Faith as well posted, and I just feel like this is all confirmation. Faith also posted last week about, waiting for on her She Builds Instagram page. Please go and follow that as well. And she posted about us always waiting for the perfect time to do something. We're waiting for the perfect time to start that business. So we're waiting for the perfect time to, have a child, or we're waiting for the perfect time to get married, or we're always waiting for a perfect time. But the fact is there's no perfect time, because even if that perfect time came, I promise you tomorrow, there's probably going to be something that's going to try and, take you off track or take you off course. But I think my thing about perspective is just understand that that vision was given to you, run with it and bring it forth. Because what is it? Pastor O always says, when God gives you a vision, he will make a provision. And that provision could be your board of directors, or it could be, the provision could be going on a course, or whatever it might be. But I just wanted to share that. Remy, Sister Rems, there were some questions. Oh, you've answered them in the chat about what a zero budget is. You've answered that and stuff. Does anybody else have any more before we wrap up? Questions?
Can I just add one more thing, Mabinti? How can there be a perfect time when God never gives you the whole picture? He never. So the timing you never know everything. It's in the journey that he reveals us. That's when he thinks you're ready. So there can never be a perfect time. Just move when he says move, and stand still when he says stand still.
Anita?
I was just going to say, you're on that thing about timing, and I'll post in a group. You should all listen to the message by Steve Furtick, Wind versus Word, Trusting God's Timing. It's all about that. That whole thing, there's, the scripture about, the one that watches the wind will never sow. But that whole thing about, if you do look at timing, you'll never do anything. If you consult your feelings, you'll never do anything. You just listen to that message. It's really, really mind-blowing.
Okay, please share with us.
And also, just to talk about that whole timing thing, there is no perfect time. Yes. I mean, like I said, I'm buying my first house at the age of 46. So yeah, you can do whatever you want at any time.
So powerful. And I think it was Anna that we were talking previously. Anna, please, if you can put the book, I can't remember, but there's a book about running your own race and about not looking is it comparison is the thief? Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy. But there was also a thing about running. There was a book about being focused on your own journey and your own goals and not looking next to you as to what the other person's doing, because if you do that, you find yourself slowing down. So I guess it's just being focused on your goals and what God has called you to do, because we're all unique. We're all unique, and we all have purpose. And just tying it back to mental health, often when we are in a state of despair, often when we feel like we've not achieved our goals or we're unmotivated, which usually comes to, oh, I should have ticked this off by this time, or I should have done this. Sometimes it's annually, sometimes you go in and you look at your goals on an annually basis, or sometimes you hit a certain age, you know, and society is telling you, actually, by this age, you should have done X, Y, and Z, and you should move ahead with it. And when you feel like you haven't ticked that box, you become sad, depressed, anxious, fearful, maybe stressed, and all these other things that can impact our mental health. But I guess what I would like to sort of encourage everyone is that trust in your process, trust in your journey and what God has called you to do. For years, I thought God was calling me to do X, Y, and Z, but it wasn't until when the whole breakdown of my relationship with my mum happened and I went through a really dark place and I had to go through therapy that I realized, actually, God, this is probably this has been my calling, to, you know, create spaces for not just women, but for Christians to openly talk about the issues that can impact our mental health. But also, and I'm so blessed, Sister Remy, that you shared that you went to therapy, also to just encourage others that yes, praying is amazing, we all love to pray, but also it's okay to go and seek external help as well. Let's go and seek, if that's in the form of a therapist, or that's in the form of a financial advisor, or that's in the form of your board of directors, or in the form of a personal development, whatever it might be. But it's just about community. God created us to be a community. He created us to interrelate. He created Adam, but he knew Adam couldn't do this on his own. So he made Eve. We can't do this on our own. We need our support systems. So please, I just want to encourage you before we close that you are not alone in any process. If you want to personally get in touch with either Sister Remy, Ife, or Anita, please do email. I'll email everyone anyway with my email address. Please email me or directly email the women yourself, and let's build up this community. Let's build up this Christian, godly sisterhood, so we can support each other and be able to be vulnerable and be able to face our issues head on, but also have those pillars of support around us that can lift us up. So that's all from me. We are 25 minutes over. I sincerely apologize. Sister Ife, Anita, and Sister Remy, thank you so much. You would never ever know how much you have blessed me personally, but I'm sure many of the women on here are blessed as well. Please stay on so we can just have a quick debrief after everyone is gone. And for all the ladies, thank you for joining. I pray that as you go into this week, that God will show himself faithful in your lives. I pray that, you know, he will guard and guide you this week, that next time we all meet, which is next month by God's grace, that we will be able to share of God's goodness and his testimonies in our lives, and that we once, like practicing the gratitude, that as we go through the week, we will be thankful for all the big things, but especially the small things, because it's the small things that will keep us going. So thank you for joining. I love y'all, and I'll be please save the date for Saturday, the 13th of February. We'll have our second meeting and we'll be looking at singleness and the stigmas around being single within the church. I'll send out information when I send out the link to the video, but thank you once again. Have a fantastic Saturday and an amazing week. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Fantastic event. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.